Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We can say Shabbat Shalom back. Shabbat Shalom. It is wonderful to get to be together here as we celebrate this day of Shabbat. This week we read from the Torah portion Lech Lecha, an invitation and a reminder that each and every day of our lives is an opportunity to move forward. And it's a peculiar set of words, Lech Lecha, going forth. It's been translated many different ways, but I'd like to invite for each of us this morning that this is a going Lech Lecha to each and every one of us, a journey into a deeper part of ourselves. And so this morning, we join together for this holiday of Shabbat, and of course, we join together to celebrate as a young person takes her first steps as an adult in our community. So welcome to everyone who is here, and welcome to everyone who is joining us on Facebook and YouTube, and our live stream as well on tilb.org, where at the top of that page you can click on the live stream link. And one of the reasons that I mention that is that there is a slightly higher quality stream on that webpage. The other is when we get to the later part of our service and we ask for names for our memorial prayer, if there are names you would like to add, I invite you to switch over to that tilb.org link so that we can read those names aloud. Well, welcome everyone here as well, and welcome to those who have lifted up Alissa as she has come to this place in her journey. And so welcome to Jay, and welcome to Rachel, teachers in our Torah Center, as well as welcome to Sharon Amster-Brown, our Torah Center fearless leader. Welcome as well to everyone here, as well as to David York, and a special thank you this morning for bringing us together in song, for offering your music so that we can welcome in this holiday in such a powerful way. Well, a little bit, before we begin, a little bit of, you guessed it, housekeeping. So, first and foremost, I want to ask if anybody has a cell phone, to take a moment now, and I'm actually going to take mine and turn it entirely off. I invite you to turn off your cell phone or set it on silent so that we can have this morning without that particular distraction. I want to mention also that we have a professional photographer here who is joining us to capture this moment. He will be doing it in such a way to preserve the sanctity of our service this morning, staying behind the pews. I also want to mention that we all pray in different ways. And for some of us, especially those of us who are under the age of 4, 3, right around there, we have ways of praying, ways of expressing ourselves that might be distracting as well. They are welcome to be in this space, but if anybody feels the desire or need, there is a life cycle room over here where you can hear the service taking place and join as well, and you can sing to your heart's delight. I want to mention also that the Los Angeles County health guidelines have dictated that we should all be wearing masks this morning, and that is to ensure that we are not only in a spiritually safe space, but a physically safe space as well. And so we are asking that everyone remain masked throughout the entirety of the service, and that is, of course, not just over the mouth, but over the nose as well. And I'm sure that everyone is sitting here saying, that is all fine and good, but you and Cantor are not masked. We very recently have taken a COVID test and have both tested negative for COVID. And so throughout the service, when it's just the two of us, we will be up here at the podium without our mask on, but as an extra precaution, we've cleared the first 2 rows this morning. Alissa has also taken a very recent COVID test and is tested negative and is vaccinated as well. And so when it is the 3 of us, Alissa will also not be masked, in addition to times that she is with her family as they are potted together. Otherwise, we're asking, even when we come up for various different honors, for each of us to remain masked. Now, I want to mention that there are a couple of different ways into the service this morning. There's a pamphlet that has an outline and some of the different honors, things that are taking place this morning. And additionally, we have a prayer book. Do you mind if I use this prayer book? So we have a prayer book that has the prayers that we'll be offering on the right-hand side of the page, and then an English translation of those prayers right below it. On the left-hand side, there are interpretive translations and readings, and even still underneath, you'll find commentary. And that is recognizing that each and every one of us have different ways into prayer this morning. Each and every one of us might find times when our hearts are wandering, because we each have different spiritual needs. And so if your hearts are wandering, I invite us to let our eyes wander as well. There are different ways into the service this morning. And so for some of us, that's going to be singing along word for word to these prayers that we'll be offering this morning. For others, it's going to be humming along to the melody. And for still others, it will be letting the words and melodies wash over us. Each of us has our own way into prayer. Well, together, we have the opportunity to celebrate not just this holiday of Shabbat, but Alissa as she takes her first steps. And so she has been learning for many months and years to come to this place. And so we want to welcome those who are here, not just online, but here, and those who have come from far and wide to celebrate this morning. And of course, we turn to one another with words of gratitude. We turn to page 74 for the words of Ma Tovu, said at a time in our story when one of the members of our extended community looked out and said, "What a beautiful community. What a wonderful thing for us to join together." We begin with Ma Tovu on page 74.
Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ma Tovu, Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ma Tovu, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ma Tovu, Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ma Tovu, Va'ani berov hastecha avov etecha eshtecha ve'elecha kodshecha ve'yiratecha. Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ma Tovu, Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ma Tovu.
Well, it is traditional for our bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah to receive a talit on the morning they celebrate taking these steps. And so it is my absolute joy to call up Alissa as well as her brother and her mother, Jacob and Lisa, to offer her talit to her this morning as she begins this journey.
First off, I want to say good morning, everyone, and thank you all for joining us here today. It's really great to see everyone after so long. Alissa, it has been a blessing to watch you grow up. We started Temple at the same time together, and so to have you finally reach this day in your Jewish identity and your Jewish education it warms my heart, and I'm glad to be here with you.
Aw.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef batzitzit. I hereby accept the obligation of fulfilling these mitzvot as commanded in our Torah. You shall be holy, for I, your God, am holy. You shall not render an unjust decision. Leave something of what you possess to the poor. Do not hate your fellow human being. Judge your neighbor fairly. Do not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor. Do not gossip or spread rumors. Do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. Love your neighbor as yourself. I am Adonai, your God. We continue with the Baruch Hu on page 108. Please rise in body or in spirit. Please join in the Hebrew on page 110. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvarei hosheh, osei shalom uvarei et hakol, hama'ir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barahamim, uvtuvo mehadesh b'chol or tamid ma'aseha v'reishit, ma'arebu ma'aseha Adonai, kulam b'chochma asita, Melech haaretz kinyaneha, titbara Adonai Eloheinu, al sheva ma'aseha yedeha, va'al me'orei or shiasita yefarucha selah, or hadash al sion ta'ir, v'niskei kulanu me'areha la'ora, baruch atah Adonai yotzer hama'arot. You are praised who rolls out the rough, raw clay of the universe into delicate vessels of light, and from nothing at all, we could perceive in a world that is turned old, a shimmering new creation right before our eyes, made this moment just for us. How much of life reveals your presence? How much Torah unfolds from each new flower? From each new wave that breaks on the sea, you are praised who forms from the clay that cloaks our lives, the delicate vessels which contain our light. We continue with the Ahava Rabbah on page 112. Ahava Rabbah, Ahav Tanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hemla, Gedola, Vitera, Hamalta, Aleinu, Ba'avor Avotenu, Ve'imatenu, Shabbatu, Veha, Utlamdain, Hukei, Hayim, Kain, Tehonenu, Ve'utlamtenu.
Ve'ha'erinenu b'toratecha, ve'dabek leveinu b'mitzvotecha,
We continue with the Shema on page 114. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nefshecha u'v'kol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levinecha v'dibartam bam b'shivtecha v'ritecha uv'letecha Ukshartam leot ayadecha v'chayulet tetafot beinenecha uvtavtam amezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'Eloheihem ani Adonai Eloheihem Asher hotzeitem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lahem le'Elohim ani Adonai Eloheihem.
Adonai Eloheihem emet.
Please join me on page 122 for the Mi Hamocha.
Sur Yisrael, Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, Uvdei kinumecha v'huda ve'Yisrael,
Go
Aleinu
Aleinu
Adonai
Adonai
Tsevaot Shemo,
Kadosh
Kadosh Yisrael,
Baruch
Atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael.
We continue with the Amidah on page 124. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Adonai Sefatayv Tifta Ufia Gitahi
Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotinu v'Imateinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rahel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'Kamnei Hakol, V'Zoher Haskevot V'Imahot, U'Migula Livnei V'Neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Zer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Me'akein Avraham, Yisrael Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mehayeh HaKol Atah, Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv Haruah, U'Moriv HaGashem, Mehayel Hayim Behesed, Mehayel HaKol Berahamim Rabim, Zomech Noflim Berofei Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umakayim Emunato, Lishanei Afar, Mihamo Haba Gevurot, Umidom Elah, Melech Mimid, Umahaye, Umachir Yeshua, V'Ne'eman Atalihiot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mehayeh HaKol. We continue with the Kedusha on page 130. Let us sanctify your name on earth, as it is sanctified in the heavens above, as it is written by your prophet. Holy, holy, holy is Adonai Tsevaot. God's presence fills the whole earth. Kadesh Eshimcha ba'olam, Ki Shem Shemakdashim Oto Bishmei Maran, Kakatuv Ayan Nevi'echa, V'kara Ze'el Zeh ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tsevaot, Melech kol haaretz, Kavodo. Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Ma'adir Shem, Abechol haaretz, Baruch Kevod Adonai, Mimkomo. Ahad hu Eloheinu, hu Eloheinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshiach, hu Yashmienu, v'Rahaman Erenei Kol Hai, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Imlo Adonai Le'olam, Elohai Tzion, Ledor Vador. Hallelujah. Please be seated.
We are gifts,
We are blessings, we are history in song. We are hope, and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words, and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. Ledor vador nagid god lecha. Ledor vador we protect this chain. From generation to generation, Ledor vador, these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our heart, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part. We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way. And the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. Ledor vador nagid god lecha. Ledor vador we protect this chain. From generation to generation, Ledor vador, these lips will praise your name.
We continue on page 132. Please join us in singing Vishamru.
Well, to help us this morning, we have the project of pairing up our students, and so we have the joy of calling up Leah Harmatz, no stranger to this bima, to help us in leading this prayer this morning. Go ahead.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. B'nei Uven b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Oti le'olam. Oti le'olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai. Asa Adonai.
Please turn to page 137 for Ritzeh.
Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, utfilatam be'ahava tekabel, utile ratzon tamid, avodat Yisrael amecha, baruch ata Adonai, shodcha levadcha b'yira na'avod.
Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to share its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment fall within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendships and fellowship among all the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name sanctify every home and every heart. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace.
Baruch atah Adonai hamvarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Please continue silently with the words that are either on the page or the words that are in your own heart. Shalom tova uvracha, chayim chen v'chesed verachamim. Sim 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 shalom tova uvracha, chayim chen v'chesed verachamim.
Well, when our young adults step into adulthood, we have all different ways of setting out invitations for them to take on that mantle. One of them is to lead us in a service. Another is to teach us, which Alissa will be doing later on. But for this section of our service, we'll have the opportunity here, not just the stories, but the literal word-for-word words that have been passed down for generations come to life through her lips. And so we begin a service of taking out the Torah and reading from the words that are housed within it. Just a couple of notes about this particular moment in our service. Not now, but in a little bit, we're going to get to a place where we are marching around with the Torah, bringing the Torah through the community. And I want to just offer a couple of notes about that. And so the first is that it is customary to schmooze. It does take longer to go around with the Torah than it would normally because, well, we want to see each other. We want to say hello. And so I invite us to welcome one another. It is customary to say either Shabbat Shalom or Mazel Tov, meaning congratulations, in a moment such as this. But since we are in a period of a pandemic, we are asking that we not hug in that moment as well. There are other ways to show that same love and affection. Additionally, we are asking that everyone will keep their masks on. And you'll notice that some people will actually reach out for the Torah and touch the Torah. It is customary to touch the Torah and then kiss our hand. We again ask that we might leave our mask on for that particular custom, if that is your custom to do that. And to touch the Torah first and then to kiss your hand. Finally, if the Torah doesn't get to you immediately, it will come around to you. We're going to go down this aisle and take left turns all the way around through here to make sure that we get to everyone this morning. Well, with that, it is my absolute joy to call up those members of Alissa's family who are a part of the generation to generation. Those who are offering this blessing to her. As this tradition has been passed down from generation to generation, so too will we pass symbolically this Torah this morning. And so I would like to call up to our bima Anita Endelman, David and Gail Endelman, Sandy Sandler, Greg and Lisa, and Jacob, as well as Alissa herself. The rest of the congregation I'd like to invite to please rise in body or in spirit.
In kamocha va'Elohim Adonai ve'en kema'asecha Malchutecha malchut kol olamim Umemshaltecha bechol dor v'dor Adonai malach Adonai malach Adonai yimlach le'olam vad Adonai oz le'amo yitain Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom Av harachamim heitiv bertzonecha et Zion Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim Kivecha levad batachnu Melech eram venisa Adon olamim Ki mitzion teitzei Torah Ki mitzion teitzei Torah Udevar Adonai mirushalayim Baruch shenatan Torah Torah Baruch shenatan Torah Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema בשמיים ובארץ, כי כל בשמיים ובארץ. לך אדוני הממלכה, והמנשא לכל ראש. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים.
Please be seated. While Alissa is taking a moment to find her place in the Torah this morning, just a little bit about this particular scroll that we are reading from today. So, this particular scroll actually comes to us from the Queen Mary, where there was a small sanctuary housed on that particular boat, that particular vessel. Members of our community who were finding a new home, emigrating to the United States, well, while they were on their journey, they would turn to the sanctuary and pray over this very same Torah in that moment. A reminder for each and every one of us that we have always found home in the retelling of the stories of our people. And so too have so many read from these same words and found themselves at home. So too do we have Alissa reading from this very same scroll, offering the same blessings, and reminding us that we are at home anytime we read from these sacred words. Well, we have different honors, different aliyot, and so for our very first aliyah, we'd like to call up Michael Sandler and Elise Harker, Alissa's uncle and uncle's partner, for this very first aliyah.
נא לעמוד המשפחה לעלייה התורה.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Ba'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Ba'ed. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Ba'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chabanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Vayehi Avram ben tish'im shana v'teisha shanim vayera Adonai el Avram Vayomer Elohim Elav Ani El Shaddai Hitalei Lefanai V'yetamim Ve'etna Veriti Beini Uveinecha Ve'arbe Ota Mim'od Me'od Vayipol Avram Al Panav Vayadaber Ito Elohim Lemor.
We continue with the English translation of that very same reading.
When Abram was 99 years old, the Eternal appeared to Abram and said to him, I am El Shaddai, walk along before me and be pure of heart, and I will set a covenant between us and multiply you exceedingly. Abram fell on his face. God spoke with him, saying,
Baruch Adonai Elohim melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Well, for our second Aliyah, we'd like to call up Alissa's grandmother and great aunt, Sandy Sandler and Marcia Berman.
Nala Amod, Sora Leah, then Marsha Lalia HaTorah.
I hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'harbanu mikol hamim, v'nan tamanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ani hine veriti ita v'chaita le'av hamon goyim velo yikare od et shema Avram v'chaya shema Avraham ki av hamon goyim netatiha ufreit V'hifreti ota bim'od me'od untatiha legoyim umlahim mimha yetzeu. As for me, here is my covenant with you. You shall be the father of a multitude of peoples. No longer are you to be called Abram. Your name is to be Abraham, for I am making you the father of a multitude of nations. I am making you exceedingly fruitful and turning you into nations. Kings shall come forth from you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
For our third Aliyah, we'd like to call up Alyssa's grandparents, David and Gail Endelman.
Nala Amod, David Vigel, Lalia HaTorah.
Oraku et Adonai Hamavorah.
Baruch Adonai hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorah le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'char banu mikol ha'amim, natan lanu Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. V'hakimoti et briti beini uveineha uvein zar'aha ahareha. Livrit olam, lihiot leha, lelohim, uzar aha, ahareha, venatati leha, uzar aha, ahareha, eit eretz megureha, eit kol eretz Canaan, la'ahuzat, olam, V'hayiti lahem le'Elohim, Vayomer Elohim el Avraham, Ve'ata et briti tishmor, ata v'zaraha ahareha ledorotam. I will establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you for all their generations, an everlasting covenant, to be God to you and to your descendants after you. I will give you and your descendants after you the land where you have sojourned, the whole land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. God then said to Abraham, as for you, observe my covenant, you and your descendants after you, in all your generations.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natanu lanu Torah emet, Yahayim olam nata v'chayenu. Baruch atah Adonai Notei HaTorah.
Amen. For our fourth Aliyah, stay here. For our fourth Aliyah, we'd like to call up Alissa's very proud parents and brother, Greg and Lisa Endelman, as well as Jacob Endelman.
Nala Amod, Itahana, the Avigdor Yisrael, the Isador, Laliyah HaTorah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Notei HaTorah. Amen.
Zot briti asher tishmeru beini uveinehem uvein zaraha ahareha himolahem kol zahar montem eit besar arlatem v'haya leot berit beini uveinehem uven shmonat yamim yimolahem kol zahar ledorotehem yelid bait umiknat kesef mikol ben nehar asher lo mizar ahahu. This is my covenant that you and your descendants after you are to observe. Let every male among you be circumcised. When the flesh of your foreskin has been circumcised, it shall become a sign of the covenant between us. And in all your generations, let every 8-day-old boy among you be circumcised, whether it be a homeborn slave or bought from foreigners, not of your own descent. Sorry, I keep forgetting. I was out.
Amen. For our fifth and final Aliyah, we have the joy of calling up Alissa herself to this Aliyah of the Torah. before we do that, we are going to do a Misha Berach prayer, hopefully with the intention of offering strength for each and every one of us as we know that we can find strength in one another's presence, as it is traditional as well to offer this blessing in the presence of our Torah. If you would like to sing along, you can find the words to this blessing on page 253 of our prayer books. We now turn to our final aliyah. This fifth aliyah is Alissa's aliyah to take on. It is in this moment that she becomes a bat mitzvah, in this moment that she takes her place in our community as an adult.
Nala amod, nala amod, nala amod, habar mitzvah. Gabriela Daniela bat Itahana ve Avigdor Yisrael, Lalia HaTorah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Himo yelit beitha umiknat kasveha v'haita veriti bivsarhem livrit olam ve'arel zahar asher lo yimol et basar arlato v'nichreta hanefesh hahi me'ameha et briti hefar vayomer Elohim el Avraham Sarai ishtaha lo tikra et shema Sarai ki Sarah shema. Let your homeborn slave and the one you buy be circumcised, so that my covenant may be in your flesh as an everlasting covenant. An uncircumcised male who has not circumcised the flesh of his foreskin, that person shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. God then said to Abraham, Sarai, your wife, call her Sarai, no more, for her name is now Sarah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam natan b'toheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We continue now with the lifting and dressing of our Torah. To help us with this honor, we'd like to call up Susan Endelman and Anita Endelman, Alissa's aunt and grandma. The rest of the congregation I'd like to invite to please rise in body or in spirit.
Torah, Torah, Asher Samoshe, V'zot HaTorah Asher Samoshe, Lifnei B'nei Yisrael, Lifnei B'nei Yisrael. V'zot HaTorah, V'zot HaTorah, V'zot HaTorah, V'zot HaTorah, V'zot HaTorah, V'zot HaTorah. Al pi Adonai beyad Moshe.
Just wanted to.
Yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la la la, yai la la la, yai la 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 la, yai la la la.
Turn it around.
Eitz Chaim hi lemochazikim ba, v'tomchecha me'ushar, derachecha darchei noam, v'chol netivotecha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva. Chadish, Chadish yameinu, Chadish yameinu kekedem.
Please be seated. Well, just as we ask our young people to take the words of the Torah and bring them to life for us, so too do we have the opportunity to hear from other sections of our Bible. And so Alissa is going to be reading her Haftorah portion for us as well this morning.
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar bin v'im tovim v'ratzah v'divrehem hanemarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'Torah Uv Moshe Avdo, Uv Yisrael Amo, Uvin Vie Hamet Batzedek. Notain Layaef Koa, Ul Ein Onim, Otzma Yarbe, Via Afu Ne'arim, Via Gau. Uvahurim kashol yikashelu v'koye Adonai yalifu koa yalu aver kanasharim yarutsu velo yigau yelahu velo yiafu. who gives strength to the faint and adds power to those who have none. Even the young grow faint and weary. The young may stumble and fall, but all who trust in the eternal renew their strength. They soar on wings like eagles. They run and never grow weary. They march and never grow faint. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Zor kol ha'amim Sadik bechol hadorot Ha'el ha'ne'eman Ha'omer ve'oseh Hamdaber u'mkayem Shekol devarav Emet v'sedek Al ha'torah Ve'al ha'avodah Ve'al hanve'im Ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Likdusha ve'limnuha Lechavod ultifaret Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu modim la Umevarhim otah Yitbarach Shemha Bifi Kol Hai Tamid Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
Well, there is really one and only one thing to say after a powerful reading and leading such as that, and that is to say, we can say Mazel Tov. On the count of three, I want us to say it all together. 1, 2, 3, Mazel Tov. What a beautiful and powerful reading. Thank you for offering that to us, Alissa. Well, just as we have asked Alissa to take the literal words of our tradition and bring them to life for us, so too have we asked her to interpret these words, to help us understand how they might speak to us today. And so I'd like to turn it to Alissa to teach us a little bit this morning.
Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for being here with me on my special day. The Torah portion I just read is Lech Lecha. There are many interesting things that happened in my Torah portion, and here are some of the lessons that I learned. Abraham left his homeland, and God spoke to Abraham and made a covenant with him. Some of the things in this covenant were Abraham had to keep his descendants safe and make sure they did what they had to do, and God made Abraham the father of a multitude of people. God also changed Abram's and Sarai's names. This name change occurred later in their life. Abram was spoken to by God and underwent this change to his and his wife Sarai's name by adding the Hebrew letter He. Abram's name became Abraham, and Sarai's name became Sarah. This change to their names enabled them to have a special connection. This special connection allowed them to feel closer to one another and God. When two people go through a big experience together, they have a special connection. Abraham and Sarah had this because God came to them late in their lives. For most of their lives, they were not able to have children. I suspect that they gave up hope and that they would never have a child of their own. God reached out to them and picked and blessed them with a special covenant or promise. Part of the covenant was allowing them to have not only their own child, but God also promised them a multitude of nations. This was a special and unique connection with God, each other, and all future generations. Today we're creating a special connection by sharing my Bat Mitzvah celebration with God and all of you. This is helping to fulfill another part of the covenant. As we are descendants of Abraham and Sarah, we are keeping our promise to study Torah and God's teachings. The promise was not only between God and Abraham, but it was a commitment to build a community just like we are experiencing right now. One of the things that I believe is that although God instructed Abraham and his male descendants to show this covenant through circumcision, girls can also show this covenant and a special connection with God by being active in the community, studying Torah, and living a positive life. I am currently a member of the National Charity League, which is a program for mothers and daughters to participate in that embraces philanthropy, leadership, and culture. One of the philanthropies that I work with is Operation Gratitude. Operation Gratitude is one of the largest and most impactful nonprofits in the country for hands-on volunteerism in support of military, veterans, and first responders, offering volunteer opportunities for every American to express their appreciation to all who serve and protect our nation. For my Mitzvah project, I helped teach other members of the National Charity League how to make paracord bracelets. I did workshops to help teach both the mothers and daughters Paracord bracelets can be used to save a life in an emergency situation. My National Charity League chapter turned in over 1,000 paracord bracelets last year. In addition to making bracelets for the military, I wrote letters to our first responders thanking them for their service. Today is a special day for me, but I also wanted to thank some of the people that helped make it so special. I'd like to start by thanking Rabbi Fox for helping me understand my Torah portion, supporting me in becoming a bat mitzvah. I also want to thank Cantor Cooper for all of the time and effort that you gave me. And thank you for teaching me my Torah and Haftorah portions and for today's beautiful music. Next, I want to express my gratitude to all my Torah Center teachers. Thank you for always believing in me and teaching me about Judaism and Hebrew. I want to especially acknowledge Jay for helping me learn all of my prayers and for always working with me every year and believing in me. Thank you, Sharon, for creating a special environment to learn in at the Torah Center. Next, I want to thank Mrs. Ben Shmuel for taking the time to be the board representative at my bat mitzvah, spending extra time getting to know me better and serving our community as a board member. To all my friends and family, thank you for coming to celebrate with me and for all of the love and support you have given me throughout the years. Finally, I want to thank my family, starting off with my brother. Thank you, Jacob, for the big and small things you have done for me throughout my life. I feel so grateful for you because you have done so much for me, but I do think the biggest thing you have ever done is help me on this day. Thank you so much for creating a video montage for me and an amazing grand entrance for me. All of these things in my bat mitzvah would not have been this amazing without you here. So once again, thank you so much, and I love you. Next, I want to thank my mom. Thank you so much for helping me throughout my time at Torah Center with everything I've needed, and for always making me laugh and putting me in a good mood, and for always believing in me. You have taught me so much, and even though sometimes we can argue like siblings, you are still one of my best friends. When I get older, I am really inspired to be like you because you are just so great. I don't think you know how much I love laughing and making jokes with you, but it truly is my favorite time of my days. Thank you for making this day so perfect. You did everything, and I'm so insanely grateful for you because I know that I could never be a better party planner than you. Thank you for all of the special tips you planned for our family. After everything I've said today, I hope everyone in here has realized just how amazing you are at everything. I love you so much. And last but not least, my dad. Thank you so much. I am so lucky to have you as my dad. My favorite things about you is how you can always give me the best advice in life, that you are the most funny and silly dad ever. Even though sometimes you can embarrass me, I love how you can just get on the dance floor and dance and have a great time. I love watching you do this because it makes me so happy, especially all of your silly TikToks. You are so funny, and I love that so much. I'm so happy that you enjoy cooking and baking as much as me because I love learning new things, and you're the perfect guy to go to. Thank you for teaching me so many things in life and never letting me give up. I love you so much. Thanks again, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm crying a little bit. Alissa, you have been such a gift to all of us. And so we want to offer some gifts to you this morning. So I'd like to call up Karen Ben Shmuel, a member of our board of directors, to offer some gifts to you.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
I've had the pleasure of knowing the Endelman family for a few years, both from school and from Temple. And Alissa, you are just a delight, absolutely. You're intelligent and beautiful, and you did an amazing job today. And I really enjoyed getting to know you recently. And mazel tov to the whole family. Honestly, it was wonderful. On behalf of the board of directors, I am going to present you with some gifts. First of all, from Sisterhood and the men's group, we have a Kiddush cup and some candlesticks, so you and your family can continue to celebrate Shabbat. From the temple, I have the Jewish Study Bible, the Tanakh translation, so you can further your study of Torah. And from the Union for Reform Judaism, the URJ, I have a $250 gift certificate to attend Nifty High School summer or semester Israel travel program. So I hope you're able to use all these gifts in your home. And Mazel Tov again, you were absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
I'll put these down here for you.
Thank you.
Alissa, I will tell you that I was planning on talking about your intelligence. But I'm really moved to share something a little bit different. And it gets into that, right? Today you taught us this profound thing about our Torah portion, right? And one of the things that you were really moved by was this idea that Abraham became Abraham after he was Abram, and Sarai also became Sarah. That there was something that changed them and that drew them together. And then you continued your Devar Torah this morning to offer these thank yous to the people in your life. And so I'd like to suggest this. There is Torah in those thank yous, just as the same as there is Torah in the earlier part of what you're sharing. In our tradition, we have this idea of a written Torah and an oral Torah. And in fact, it says in the Midrash that somebody came once to Rabbi Hillel and said, "Teach me the entire Torah. I only want to see the written Torah, only the things that are written down. I don't want to learn any of the oral Torah." And Hillel, in his way, said, "Okay," and taught just a little bit. And then came back the next day and asked questions, and the person wasn't able to answer them because, of course, he only had the words that were on the parchment. He didn't have the words that were in the atmosphere around. And Hillel teaches that is a critical part of this Torah too. Not just the words on the parchment, but the words that we learn from one another. Alissa, I think this comes to you intuitively. You know the Torah that is written down on the pages in front of us. You have those words on your heart, and you can recite them as beautifully as you did this morning and teach us as profoundly about the words that are in them. I want to suggest also that you have this oral Torah also deep in your heart. That you teach not just by seeing the words on the page, but knowing the people around you. And just as you learn from everyone here, so too have you taught each and every one of us. And so we learn from you not just the interpretation of these particular words of the blessing and story of your Torah portion, but the words and blessing of your understanding and your inspiration to each and every one of us. My hope, my blessing, and my knowledge is that you will continue to offer these blessings for each of us. Alissa, Mazel Tov. Well, it's now my joy to call up your parents for some more blessings. This morning, I'd like to call up Greg and Lisa.
I promise not to say that you did a bussin' job or that your party's going to be lit. And I will try not to act like a boomer. However, I cannot promise you that I won't cry, although that you told me many times, don't cry, there's nothing to cry about. So where I will begin is by sharing a quick story of how we got to this date for your bat mitzvah. So for those of you who don't know, a few years prior to the bar and bat mitzvah year, each class comes together and does a lottery to determine who gets to go first, second, third, etc. on picking their child's b'nai mitzvah day. Well, as our luck would have it, the Endelmans got the very last pick. I really wanted a spring bat mitzvah, but those dates were all taken. So we not only got today, but it was also in Alyssa's 8th grade year, not her 7th grade year, when b'nai mitzvahs typically are done. Well, needless to say, I truly believe everything happens for a reason. There is no way we would have had a typical bat mitzvah last spring due to the pandemic. Now, granted, of course, I know we are still in a pandemic, and many of our friends and family could not be in person here today because of it, but to have as many of you here as we do is a true blessing. So thank you so much to all of you that are here and to those that are watching via live stream. Now to you, Alissa. I'm so incredibly proud of you and what you have accomplished here today. You truly did a great job, as I knew you would. I think you would readily admit that you have been very anxious about this day and lack confidence that you could do it. You are the first to cheer on others and tell them that they'll do great, but you often don't believe in yourself and your own abilities. I hope this will change your mind and show you how that when you put your heart and your mind into something, you can do it and do it wonderfully. Although you drive me crazy sometimes with your teenage girl attitude, you are one of the most empathetic and caring people I know. I know the real reason that you didn't want to cry is because it would make you cry too, because that's what usually happens. You get so sad when I'm sad and truly take on the caretaker role. You're there to support me and tell me it's okay, Mom, I love you and I'm here for you. And of course, when you say that, I just cry harder because I cannot believe how wonderful of a daughter you are. Although you will not let me dress you in pink frilly dresses anymore or put ponytails in your hair, I do appreciate it when you let me dry and brush your hair. I love doing face masks with you and getting our nails done together. And although I don't love all of the TikTok or YouTube videos you show me, I still enjoy the time I get to spend with you. When you were younger, you asked me a couple of times if Caleb was still alive, would you have wanted me? I would tell you as much as I miss Caleb every day, I could not imagine my life without you. I want you to know that no matter what, I'll always be here for you, and you will always have my unconditional love. I want you to believe in yourself as much as you believe in others, and know that you are truly an amazing young lady that will do many wonderful things in your life. Love you more.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Listen, I'm just going to let you breathe for a second, okay? I'm gonna breathe myself. I'm not wearing a mask. I actually appreciated wearing the mask because you guys couldn't see me cry because it dispels a rumor that I'm dead inside. But I tell people my heart does beat. It just beats very slowly. But I wanted to thank each and every one of you. You all play such an important role in our lives. And the gratitude that Alissa expressed and Lisa expressed, I just wanted to echo. And I know not everybody could be here. We are in the middle of a pandemic. And so I know whether people are from home or in this room, we just all love you so much. And we are very, very grateful. I also just want to really quickly thank the rabbi and the cantor, our fabulous educator, David York, countless others, Jay. There's too many to list here, but this education, Alissa gets a really unique experience because she does her traditional school education and then she repeats it on multiple days over here to learn all the prayers and the Hebrew and the chanting and everything else that's very, very difficult. And so, and it really is that warm support from all of her educators and supporters here that made today possible. All right, now I'm gonna let you breathe for a moment because I'm just gonna talk to you. Okay. All right, I don't know if I'm going to cry or not. Don't cry. I really want you to know how blessed we are to have you in this world. Throughout this pandemic, you really were religious about wearing 2 masks, right? People who really know you know the 2 masks I'm talking about. The first mask communicated a message of kindness. And the second mask communicated a message of abilities and inclusion. Those are Jewish values, they're American values, and they're your values. At your core, those are your values. Nobody has to explain to you why those things are important. You just get it. You get it at your soul. And that's so important in this world. Within your friend group, you're important. You surround yourself with the loveliest friends who are also kind and inclusive and supportive and silly. And I really appreciate that about you. Through your countless acts of service to our community, through National Charity League, by volunteering here as a Madrik, Scouts, being a member of a Girl Scout, an amazing Girl Scout troop. It's exactly who you are. You're a person of love and a person of service. And within our family, you play a critical role. A critical role. You have the unique ability. There's only one other person that actually has this ability with your brother, to make him regress to this juvenile, oftentimes annoying state, a silly state. It's really just you and Christy that can make him do that. And that's such a special little glimpse into, I know he's in college, an adult, but he's still a child, and you're able to bring out that annoying child in him. And with your mother, yes, you guys squabble like siblings, but that love and tenderness and that silliness, you are that nurturer and that calming force that we need in our family. And for me, you are such you're such an important light. I had no idea how to raise a daughter. I don't know how to do hair or makeup. I don't know about ladies' undergarments or things like that. I don't. And you teach me each and every day. You're patient with me, and you allow me to be chaotic and silly. You get me to do TikToks. It's really not that hard to twist my arm. We know that, right? But I love baking with you and driving with you in our talks. And you are such a special light in my life. I want you to know that you are perfect. And you're perfect not because you're not without flaws. We're all have flaws. But you're perfect because you are exactly who you need to be. Every moment and every day, you are perfect. Okay? I love you very much. Should we invite everybody back into the conversation? All right. Thank you again. Great job.
Well, before you go too far, Greg and Lisa, I want to invite you back up as we want to also call out words of blessing, not just from today, but from many generations before us. And so, Alissa, on a moment such as this, we have a tradition of offering blessings that come to us from our Torah that have been passed down generation to generation. And this morning, these words are yours.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's face be turned toward you in graciousness.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
Alissa, may God always watch over you, and may you be blessed with that greatest of gifts, that gift of peace. I invite us together to say, Amen. Well, and as we continue to celebrate, I'd like to call up Jacob as we offer words of blessing for coming to a moment such as this, the Shehechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen.
We continue our service now with the words of Aleinu, and to help us open our ark, I'd like to call up two of Alissa's cousins, Dana Sandler and Catalina Torres. The rest of the congregation I'd like to invite to please rise in body or in spirit. We continue on page 282.
עלינו לשבח לדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Well, our thoughts now turn to those in our community who have died in recent days and in this season in years past. And if you are joining us online, you'd like to add the name of those you are thinking of this morning, I invite you to go to tilb.org, to the live stream link, and to place the names of those you are thinking of in the chat. This morning, Alissa and her family would especially like to call to mind Alissa's great-grandparents, Dolores Franco, Ted and Clara Endelman, Irving and Helen Sandler, Jack and Mildred Berman, Alissa's grandfather, Dennis Sandler, her great-aunts, Dessa Ross and Doreen Edwards, great-uncle Stan Berman, and her brother, Caleb. Additionally, we mark Shloshim, the 30 days after the death of Ralph Mindus, and we mourn with those near to Ralph. We mourn with Jane and Ronnie and Ellen. We mourn with those near to Gitali Mizrahi. We mourn with Ariella and Mark, Raquel, Hannah, and Amanda. We additionally mark the yard site, the anniversary of the death of Alan Abramson, Maurice Edelman, Dave Aaron, Ann Abiram, Sandy Barnett, Jesse Blatt, Jean Butler, Cy Collins, Jess Cooperman, Gloria Davis, Ronald Decker, Benai Faulkner, David Garfield, Claire Glow, Manuel Gonzalez, Ralph Harris, Stephen Horowitz, Leona Klein, Walter Kuttner, Nancy Leff, Susanna Levitt, Shirley Marks, Boyce Miller, Walter Newman, Lottie Newman, Marjorie Newman, Muriel Shapiro, Florence Schuster, Seymour Siegel, Ruth Schwartz, Jack Vault, Gertrude Wool, David Udine, and Blanca Zimmerman. If there is someone that you are thinking of this morning and you'd like to share their name aloud so that we can all hold that person in our hearts, I'd invite you to share the name aloud as my eyes pass across our sanctuary. If you are here having suffered a recent loss and are observing the 7 days or the 30 days after the death of someone near to you, or are observing the 12 months after their passing or the yard site, the anniversary of their death, I'd like to invite you to rise first so that we can recognize you in your grief. And now I'd like to invite us all to rise in love and in solidarity So we offer the words of the Mourner's Kaddish, which are on page 294. Page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divarach irtei ve'amlich malchutei, V'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala uv'izman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ol meil maya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei dekudisha barichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, Tush v'chata v'nechemata, Tamiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru, Amen. Zichronam livracha, may the memories of those near to us always be a source of blessing, and I invite us together to say, Amen. Well, before we go to our closing song, just a quick note of just a couple of things. The first is I want to offer a thank you to everyone who has been behind the scenes this morning, including Kiki, who will be offering for each of us as we leave our synagogue and join together just outside a little bit of challah, a little bit of kiddush. And so after our closing song, we'll invite Alissa and her family up to the bima again after that closing song to do kiddush and motzi, and then we'll join all together outside. Well, we have a nechemta, a little bit of joy, a little bit of sweetness and goodness right there at the bottom of our prayer that we just offered. And so if you'd like to sing along, you'll find the words indented on that same page, 294. I invite us to sing together.
Oh, say shalom b'mromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 Oh, say shalom b'mromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom.
I'd like to invite up Alissa and her family to offer a blessing for our kiddush and our motzi, a little bit of juice or wine, and a little bit of challah, a little bit of bread, as we bless the sweetness and sustenance of this holiday of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lehem min haaretz b'tei avon.
B'tei Avon, everyone in Shabbat Shalom will join just outside of our synagogue and our sanctuary for more joy, more sweetness of this holiday. Wishing all of us a Shabbat Shalom. For everyone joining us online, I invite you to find a kiddush, maybe a little bit of sweetness and some sustenance. Wishing all of us a Shabbat Shalom, a very good and sweet holiday of Shabbat.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Greg, it's such a pleasure. Truly, just a joy. That was amazing. Alissa, that was awesome. That was amazing. Way to go.
You feel good?
Yes.
I couldn't imagine going any better.
Yeah,
Thank you.
seriously.
Thank you.
So Alyssa, I'll take your tallit and we can put it here with your things. And you can celebrate with everyone. Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Amazing. Thank you. Oh, come on up.
Hi, that was lovely. Thanks for coming. So glad you came. How do you feel?
Honestly, Lisa and Alyssa took like 99% of it. I'm like, I show up. I'm trying not to lose it, but she crushed it. Of course, I'm biased, but
She did beautifully.
thank you.
Really. That's a lot of work.
She's been studying since fourth grade.